It's the Greater Podcast. And we here.
We're taking over.
Men wear.
Women take over.
Men wear. Like, I am super.
Not men wear.
I know. I mean, they're here, but
But
today,
it's all about
it
us.
is all about us today.
It's ladies' night. Come on.
And
I'm feeling
all right.
Hey.
And speaking of ladies, happy Women's History Month, ladies.
Happy. Yes, ladies.
But first off, we gotta introduce ourselves. Like,
I know, people are
you
like,
are looking
who is
like,
this?
who are these people that's taking over the 330 podcast? Does anybody want to start?
I can start. So, hey everyone, this is Deb. I'm
girl.
here because I'm Gabe's wife, but also because I'm Deb. But
All
hey,
right.
y'all, good to see you guys. Hey, friends.
What's up, becoming her?
Yeah.
No, we out here giving, okay?
I can go next. My name is Kimberly. A lot of people call me KP Sparks or KP.
Girl, yes.
I am a content creator. I am a believer.
Come on.
I am a software developer.
Yeah.
I am a creative. I am a
all the things.
phenomenal. I am a beautiful woman. You know what I'm saying? Let's just skip that word. But yeah, we here today, and I'm just amazed that I'm here. So I'm grateful for that. So
Yeah.
I gotta shout out these ladies because we are literally going in clockwise or counterclockwise order. Women have order, okay? I don't know what they was doing to pop up, but you know what I'm saying. My name is Katrina Benutu. I'm married to Samson Benutu, the man that be rapping and tapping and showing. No, I'm not gonna do it. But I'm here. I am not a content creator. I am a producer. I work for Crew Films. You can find me on Crew Films. Do not follow me, my personal Instagram. Don't do it. Don't
she
do
told
it.
us do not.
If you do, you just gonna follow. That's
Right.
I'm Ugo.
Okay.
I'm Moses' Fifi or fiance.
Oh,
I like that.
I love to see it.
She's swinging the ring, y'all. Y'all see the ring?
The Fifi.
I'm thinking of Mo Digga's joint when she was doing it. Shout out Mo Digga. Hey, sis.
girl.
How you doing?
I work in healthcare,
Come
and
on.
I'm also a fashion stylist on the side. So book me.
She's really bomb, y'all.
She is fly.
She be giving those looks.
She know how to wear
Thanks.
clothes.
She
She knows how to wear clothes.
She really does. She really does.
Thank you.
Dang, I forgot. I'm a friend of the pod. I forgot to say that. These are literally my brothers. Like the men that you hear here on the podcast is literally who they are in real life, and I can vouch for that. So
They good people.
yeah,
They're
they're really amazing, and I love these women as well. So I'm super excited to have this little conversation for Women's History Month today. And if you haven't listened to the Boys to Men episode by 3:30, what is you doing? What is you doing? That was like a really good episode, and we're just here to do a
Girls
woman
to
version.
women?
Yeah, girls to women.
I like that.
I like, maybe that should be the title. Just throwing it out there. So we're gonna get into a few things and just talk about the struggles of being a woman, the misconceptions about being a Christian woman, just the journey to womanhood. We're gonna get into a lot of good things. So listen in, tune in.
Come on.
But anyone want to talk about a few things going on today?
I think we definitely have to acknowledge that today is the anniversary of the passing and murder of Breonna Taylor. And by now I think the world knows who she is. The world knows who she is. So, she was like a 26-year-old who, basically,
our age.
Right.
Yeah.
There was like a no-knock warrant for her home or whatever, and police, I can't remember where it was, but they came in, like they kind of shot up the place, and she ended up passing away. And it definitely sparked, I think, what has been like a really big, not only just in just like the movement of racial injustice, but also just like the injustice that comes to Black women. And I think that's something that we're going to talk about today, but it's just definitely just thinking about her, remembering like what she stood for, how much like of a catalyst she's been, but also just like mourning the fact that she had to pass at such a young age for absolutely no reason.
It was really hard for me during that time because she was born in 93, the same year I was born, so I saw myself in her, and it was just really crazy. I'm happy that we are able to acknowledge her though and celebrate her life. That's all we can really do and remember her. So
May she rest in peace.
Yes.
And may her family have healing.
I know that's the main.
I think it was. I don't know if it was her fiance or her boyfriend.
Yeah,
but
her boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend have
That's
healing.
traumatic.
Yeah, man. Just
That's traumatic.
like I said, I think it just reminds me of how much work we have to do, right? And that whole phrase about like protecting Black women and just
it's real.
showing up for Black women. Like, like I said, we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but I think, her murder is something that has not like left the minds of so many women.
Right.
And I know I've been in so many conversations where women are talking about like, now it's like a constant conversation. Like, how are you showing up for women? Like, how are you being an advocate for women? And I think that's really important as we kind of talk about, as we, when we were young and like, as growing into like women now, what does that look like for us to protect ourselves, for the people in our lives to protect us and, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Very well
I've been
said.
thinking about her. Yeah.
Very well said.
I ain't say all the things I do.
Yeah, because Deb, she's
my adjectives are
she's
coming.
for the justice.
I'm coming for justice.
But very well said. So as we're talking about women and how we are the women we are today, I think it would be really cool if we talk about like how we became who we are today. We talked about who we are, and like we got some wives, we got a fiance here. How do we become who we are today? Like, anybody want to share first?
Oh man, yeah, I might as well go first. So this has been something that I've been thinking about a lot because it's like, how do you describe who you are in terms of womanhood? I understand talking about like who I am as a person, but I do not understand like how do you define womanhood? How do you define Christian womanhood? Because there's so much talk about, oh, well, women have to be submissive. And I don't agree with that. I think that you should be submissive to your husband, but no woman should just be submissive in general. You know what I'm saying? It's about relationship. You're submissive according to your relationship with someone. So for me, this concept of like, oh, like, how did you become the woman that you are today? It's like, I know how I became the person, but as far as the woman portion, it's like, being married doesn't make me a woman. I was a woman before I was married.
Are you coming down my lane?
Talk about it.
Driving down my lane.
Hey,
Daisy Lane, KP Lane.
Not
All right.
Ooh, okay.
So
Keep
like,
going. Put it in. I'm gonna just come back to
I'm
that.
just curious because before I even get to describe and tell and share like how I am this woman, it's like how do we even define womanhood?
Yeah, that's true.
so good.
How would you define that?
Man,
I feel like people always say women are strong, but is it just like do we actually feel like we're strong, or is it because of like just like how we are? Sometimes we are the lesser than to a certain degree that, in cases where like even when you're walking home, we can't like imagine a girl walking home in the dark by herself. Like that's just, and the stuff we have to go through when it comes to like bearing children and everything like that. And just, I don't know, like that's a really good question.
That's true.
How would you define being a woman, like womanhood? Y'all have any? I don't know, to be honest.
I have my thoughts. Were you about to share?
I was just going to say, Kim made me think about how being a strong woman or strong Black woman, I think is more of, people kind of talk about it like it's nature. And I really think it's nurture. I really think it's the way we've had to operate in society that's made us strong women, strong Black women, because of the story of being a woman and what those experiences mean. Naturally, like, you have to learn how to navigate that without, failing. And the end result is being strong.
Yeah.
I think, something I was thinking was like how women are often like, whenever we are talking about women, it's like it's always like in relation to something. So like I'm defined by the fact that I am in a relationship or not in a relationship.
That's where I was going.
I'm a mother or not a mother. I think our identity is always tied to like what we do or like who we represent in other people's lives.
All the hats
but I think,
we wear.
right. And I think I really like that you said like I don't even see myself like I am a woman, but I'm also just a person. And who am I outside of all those like definitions of who I am? And it's just like I'm bubbly, right? Like I like to laugh. I, am passionate about like justice and, community outreach and like I like to draw, like stuff like that. And I think, I don't know if men always have to do that same thing. Praise the Lord for them. God,
we love them. There's no shade.
We do.
I mean, it's about us today.
I know, right? Praise God. Y'all had y'all time. But yeah, I don't know. Like I really like what you're like. I'm a person, and these are all the things that define me, and I'm not like extremely different than the next person, if that makes sense. I don't know. But yeah, I think oftentimes because we are always like, we're talked about in relation to someone else or in comparison to something else. So my identity is always tied to like who I represent in someone else's life, as opposed to just who I am because I say that's who I am and who God made me to be. So yeah.
Can I be honest?
Yes.
Sometimes I don't want to be strong. Like I feel like times where I want to be sad today, but it's always like Black women, God, so even when they talk about us, you are so strong. Like every time when you come out of this, when you're going through it, you're still so strong. No, I actually want to be sad today.
Yeah.
Like, because I need to feel my feelings. And I feel like even growing up, like, I would see my mom, I wouldn't see her, like she would go through things, but I don't know, like, oh, what exactly it is, but I just know she's strong. And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, dang, I don't want to always put up that facade. If somebody asks me, how are you doing? I'm actually not okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't have to feel concerned about that. I'm just human, you know? Yeah. So I feel like that's important as well, because especially as all of us are black women, like, it's always described as they're strong. And it's like, there's moments where we're not strong. It's only by the grace of God that we're able to come out on the other side of things and be put together. So.
Yeah. And I think just going back to your original question about like, you know, how, cause I'll just tell a little bit like about my story.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I grew up with a single mom. You know, there's 4, like me and my other 3 siblings. So I think growing up for me, I didn't always feel special.
Yeah.
Like I was just like there was no one saying like you are important, you are, you know, this and that, like no one really calling out like the qualities in me.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I was like, oh, I'm just like a basic, not oh my god,
That's
like
how you felt.
Just real that's how I felt. Like I was just like normal. There's nothing special. I was just like another number, like in the sea of the world kind of thing. And once again, I think it's because, you know, I mean, God bless my mom. She's like absolutely amazing, but you know, she had to provide and nurture for us or whatever. So I think growing up, like the 2 things that really defined my like journey of becoming a woman was like my identity and then like my value. And I think those 2 like come hand in hand. But I think a lot of times, like, you know, if I think about like my journey through like middle school or high school and college, like it was all about like, who did I say I was and how, like, who did I let define my worth?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times for me that often looked like men defining my worth. You know, I ran track, so you know the affirmation that I got from like being a good like a runner or whatever, or you know just like accolades or whatever. So I think all those things about like my worth and my value, like they were often defined by other people, until the Lord was like, I need you to just stop. Like you are, and I remember this like vividly. It was like one night, story time. No, one night I was like, you know, I'm trying to get the, you know, I'm cute, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do all this stuff. So I was like texting like multiple guys, and I remember like changing the way I was acting. Like I was one person with one guy I was texting,
like that.
And the other guy I was texting, I was a completely different person. And I was like just trying to think in my head, I'm like, ooh, how can I construct this text message to make sure, like doing all this stuff. And I remember the Lord saying like, you are like, you're giving of an empty hand. Like you're trying to give people pieces of who you are, but you actually have nothing to give them because you don't even know who you are. And I was like, Jesus.
The Lord dealt with you that night.
He dealt with me that night. That's actually the night that low-key I got saved. Like the Lord was just like, and I was like, Lord, so who am I? And he was like, the only way that you're going to know who you are is if you figure out who I am.
Wow.
And so I think that was like the start to my journey of like once again like knowing who I was in Christ, and then also like determining my value and my identity based on, like I said, who He said I was, and just learning myself as opposed to me trying to become something for other people. And it wasn't even bearing any fruit. Like where are those guys to me? I don't know where they are today. So just like where are you? I don't even know. So I think for me like that journey of becoming a woman was like really identifying like my value and my worth and my identity in Christ.
So good.
Love that.
Yeah.
For me, I grew up in the South, Tennessee.
All right, Southern Belle.
So yeah, I grew up in the suburbs of Nashville. I went to an all-girls school for 8 years.
Please, what are Nigerians doing in Tennessee? Can we just ask that question?
Ask my parents. I don't know. Hence why I'm not there. So yeah, I would say. Oh, and I was raised by a single mom. I also had a great relationship with my dad, but I grew up with my mother, and I have a little sister. So I think seeing strong women and kind of being like a go-getter, getting things on your own was something that was very early ingrained in me, because it was like feminism at home and feminism at school. Like our school was strongly against home ec, like any kind of domesticating women. Yeah, that was not a thing.
Wow, that's interesting.
So and they really prioritized academics and athletics. So we had like a very excellent upbringing, I would say, when it comes to like what you should do as a woman. Like it has nothing to do with guys. So I say like that really shaped how I saw myself when it came to interactions with men. So it's like I wasn't even really around them for real until I went to college, and I went to a very mixy university. So
but you said mixy?
Mixy girl.
Mixy. That's a great description for
mixy. So I would say I didn't really struggle when it came to guys and relationships, and honestly, it was my pride that kept me away from men, because I was like, I'm not going to be another number that they play. It had nothing to do with God at that point. Until maybe halfway through college, that's when I really renewed my relationship with Christ. And I was like, okay, God, this isn't about me. Like, I'm not entertaining these guys or letting them play me because of my pride. It's because you're revealing to me what my identity is. So I would say it got really solidified, and then I got really plugged into a church, and that's when I was able to, instead of avoiding men, I had like a healthy friendship with them, healthy relationships with them. So I think it really built my heart in a productive way.
That's really good.
That is good.
What about you, Kat?
Okay, I was looking at Kimberly.
Nah, you get it.
So,
It's your turn.
man, this question, I feel like, man, I'm just
I
gonna
started
describe.
with you, actually.
You did, and I just
She did. What is
I
a woman?
pivoted.
Look at me like that.
What is a woman?
Yes. LOL.
It's so Katrina, though.
Honestly. So, I think I'm just thinking back of my upbringing, and I think I can totally agree with the two stories before mine, where, growing up with a single mom, I had a lot of, I would say, inspiration in her just because of her strength. And it's unfortunate because we see the strength as being the norm, when in actuality, that is the exception to the rule, and that's the necessity for survival.
It is a very necessity.
And, I looked at that strength and thought to myself, like, I have to be strong in this world. And interestingly enough, I've always been a very energetic, direct, blunt person. So, moving like that in this life has caused a lot of heartache and a lot of rejection that has caused me to be more empathetic to people who maybe otherwise, if I hadn't gone through that pain or that rejection, I wouldn't be empathetic toward people. So as a woman, I would say that something that really sticks to my upbringing, really sticks to who I am, and like something that has really formed me, is the fact that the strength is oftentimes looked at as something to be squashed or to be marginalized, victimized, violent, like just someone wants to do some type of gender violence toward the strength of a woman. And it's for me, I feel like it's part of my responsibility to be myself regardless.
That's good.
And to choose to still be soft in the areas that I can be soft. So if that means, forgiving, if that means being empathetic, and that also has to do with my relationship with Christ, because without that relationship with Christ, I would be still this like hard, bitter, angry, and like not even in the sense of like the angry black woman trope, which low key needs to die, because we're angry. Like if you see black women that's angry,
I mean,
it's okay. There's a lot going on in this life.
Right.
She may have
1
a
+
right.
1 = 2.
Have
I mean,
empathy. Have empathy.
Yeah.
Not anyway. I'm not even gonna get into the nitty gritty, but I just think that like something that really defines me in my womanhood is empathy, willingness to be open to other people's stories and their pain, but then also just recognizing that I have not even just a right, but like I have the privilege to be myself, and I don't have to explain myself. So that's something I'm still learning, but I'm really grateful to God that like this is something that I'm more confident in than I was previously.
And do you feel supported in that? Like, do you feel like people are supporting you to be yourself?
Wow, that's a great question. So, wow, Ugo, what a question. Girl, I'm about to get shady. It's like, no, no, I'm not going to get shady. But, what's interesting? I had to take a step. So 2020, girl, this pandemic, this panoramic.
This panorama, everything.
I love
Pandora's
the... Oh, hey,
box,
baby girl.
Hey, bestie.
Well, I'm just going to continue, and she can just join and listen. So, in this panty, I felt like I had to take a step back from several spaces that I was in primarily. One of those spaces being my former church, and one of those spaces being my former job, and taking a step back and recognizing my worth. You know what I'm saying?
That's
recognizing who I am, and it's no shade to these places or institutions in particular. But what I realized was that I was constantly subjugating myself to manipulation, or constantly subjugating myself to like wanting to be seen as like beneficial or helpful or like worthy of someone's time.
Worthy is the word.
Yeah.
Oh, the worthy is actually the word. Yeah. Worthy is the lamb.
Girl, I was off key. But
it was a little high. It's okay.
It's okay. I was gonna say something.
That's a good word to describe it. Though.
I would agree. Worthy. I was definitely trying to make myself worthy for another person, or worthy for a group, or worthy for a promotion.
So prove your value,
and for me, the pandemic was such a godsend.
It really was,
because I was able to take a step back and reflect and think, what do I really want? What do I want? What do I value? What to me is success? Not how other people define it. And now I'm doing a rat race trying to get that success that they're explaining, and that they have put on a pedestal for me to attain. But really, like, what is success for me? And that was so helpful, because now I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't need other people to validate what I want.
Because very mature.
I'm not only am I like, I'm holding firmly to what I value, but I don't need other people to tell me that it's worthwhile. I don't need anyone to tell me it's a worthwhile pursuit, because I know what I'm looking for. I know what I want. I know my goal, essentially. And by the grace of God, my path and what I find as important is in his will. And so I'm actually walking in alignment with him.
With the Lord. Yeah, that's so good.
I really think like all of us being forcefully ejected out of this rat race that we call life gave God a lot more open channels to connect with us and talk to us. So I feel like everyone kind of had like we had our vision board in our mind. Like 2020 was a vision year. So it's like all of this craziness was happening, but it gave us so many opportunities to hear God talk to us about our career, about our spirituality, about our physical and mental health, about all kinds of things. So I feel like everyone kind of came to 2021 with like a new kind of guide for how they wanted to live life, and like a new set of standards for what they thought was important to them, just because God had taken so much time to solidify it while you're not working, you're not, going here, there, and everywhere during the week. Like, you have a lot of time to just be still and listen and kind of recalibrate your life. So
it's very
true.
glad,
that you said that.
I really like what you said about how it's like, it reminds me of going back to that question about like, what is a woman? And I feel like we define I define what a woman is for me. And that definition may be different from Kim or Ugo or Katrina, but it's like, you are still a woman in that, right? If that makes sense. And not necessarily in the way of like, fluid, can you call it like I'm everything all the time or whatever, but more so like, for me, a woman might look like, one day for me, like womanhood may look like being a wonderful mom to, my daughter, right? And the other day it might be like, oh, I'm actually pursuing my passion because like, this is the career like that I feel like the Lord has like set in my heart or whatever. Or like, these are the values that I have. Like, I think it can be different every day, and I think it can change, but I think the beautiful thing is about like my path to womanhood and even the seasons that I've had is different than Kim, but that doesn't mean that like her definition of a woman is different than my definition. Well, is less than or like not equal to, that makes sense? Like we create our own standard for like what we desire and what we want, following the Lord's will, and that is what defines a woman. So
And I just wanted to say, Katrina, I'm really proud of you. I'm always sentimental, but I remember when you talked to me about your transition from your job, and like I was just like, wow. And just seeing like the work that you and Simpson are doing now, like I'm encouraged, because I'm a creative.
They be killing it, y'all.
Her husband is really hard on me when it comes to creative stuff, and he never wants me to stop. So just seeing them come together, like God is really over your marriage, and I'm just really proud of you.
Amen. Thank you.
So I guess I can share now.
Yes, please, Kim.
So the question. Moments that shaped me. I was doing listen. I'm forgetting what the question is. So as far as my background, so I grew up. My mom and my dad were in my life. They were married, but my dad passed away when I was 15, and I didn't really understand how much of an impact that played in my like life and who I am today until I got older and I gave my life to Christ. But I would say that after he passed, I wasn't dating like before he passed. I'm like, I was a daddy's girl. Every time, let's watch Seinfeld together. Let's watch we even watched Borat. We even watched Juice together. All these movies. Yeah. Watched everything together. And then when he passed, I felt like I needed somebody in my life. So that's when I just started talking to guys and just a huge distraction. And then like I was really, really like I was the second in my class for high school. I was salutatorian. And I mean, that's a good thing, but like, I know where I was at. I just wanted to control everything because like I couldn't control my dad passing. So it's like that started coming into like, oh, you know, the type A woman. And I mean, I'm type A.
Boss bitch.
I'm type
HBIC in charge or whatever they say.
I'm type A, but I didn't even realize like the root of that until I got older. And fast forward to college, experiencing a horrible breakup and then giving my life to Christ. I just feel like I was able to like figure out who Kimberly was and who God has called me to be on this earth. I realized, wow, I'm actually a creative. And you know, I was able to start my channel. My channel was actually birthed off of me. Like when I got saved, I originally thought like, I don't know if enough Bible. Let me not share. We have like get-togethers in my apartment. I'm just doing I don't know. What do you guys think the Lord is? I don't know. But then I led my first connect group and I'm like, wow, I love this. Like I love connecting with other women. I don't want this to stop. Season is off. What is that? Let's start a channel. So that's how I started my YouTube channel. And like from there, like just being connected with other women and like pulling passion out of them. Like anytime I see someone and they're good at something, I'm like, have you thought you really need to go into that? Like I'll pull them to the side and talk about it. So like that, all those experiences have formed me into who I am today. And I'm just grateful for Christ because I feel like I wouldn't be aware of it. Like I would know, okay, I'm type A, but like knowing that I'm type A can be a good and bad thing because sometimes I'd be married to my to-do list, but I get stuff done.
Diligence, discipline, excellence. Those are good things.
I get stuff done, but because of Christ, He was able to reveal to me, okay, this is why, because you know you experienced something, it was out of control. So that's what formed me to who I am today, and I'm loving it. I'm loving who I am.
We loving it too, honey. Giving what's supposed to Gabe, girl.
Thank you.
I mean, do you guys also feel like you had women in your life that also kind of like paved the way for you, like women who you like look up to, women who you feel like were like great influences, whether they were like personally in your life or just even like, you know, what is it, like Oprah? I don't know who's the Oprah person got. But, you know, just, she's on my mind. I don't know why. Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle is very. There was the meme where she was doing. Oh my gosh, I can't. She was very surprised during that whole interview, and I would have been worse. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I would have threw a table or something.
We ain't finna
act like Jesus
because we can get into it. I've been keeping my thoughts to myself. But yeah, no. But are there any women in your life that kind of stand out for you all?
It's a great question. Dang. I would say my grandmother. So my grandmother actually came to America to take care of me. So my mom used to working late, and then my dad, I mean, he had his job as well. Then my siblings, I'm the youngest out of 4, and my brother that's closest in age than me he's 12 years older than me. So like I was literally the baby. Yeah. So she came to America to take care of me, but she didn't take no nonsense. Homegirl was not playing with nobody, like, at all. And I learned that from her. So when it comes, somebody tell me a no, I'm like, I'm talking to the wrong person. Let me talk to somebody else. That's how I am.
Can I speak to your manager?
Actually, I'm gonna call somebody else HR, please, because you're not giving me the answer you're supposed to give, like, at all. So my grandmother didn't take no nonsense, and also my mom, like, me and my siblings talk about it all the time. Like, when it comes to my mom, although she lost her husband, like, it's like mommy always figures out something. So like from that, I always figure stuff out. Like I figure stuff out. So I learned that from them. When it comes to like celebrities, I don't have anybody.
It's okay. They be doing them.
But yeah, I would say yeah. So that's it.
Oh my gosh. I think for me, you know, my mom. So I think what I get from my mom is very like family oriented. She's like, you know, she would be the one to get everyone together to like go on family vacations. Like she was the one to like really bring us together all the time. And like no matter what, she's always just like, Debbie, like don't forget. Like, people call me Debbie. Oh my god. But anyway, she's like, Debbie, don't forget. Like, you know, no matter what happens, like make sure you're keeping in contact with people. Make sure you guys are still meeting up. You know, all this type of stuff or whatever. So I think my mom is like very like family oriented, and that makes me like. I feel like it definitely comes out in me. Like I'm always like, oh, people come over, like that kind of thing. Shouts to Fanny. But so I think for me, like that's where I get like fear, like that desire to like see a family like not only like together but also like functioning well and functioning like in a healthy way. Yeah. But then also like when I was in college, I had two women who kind of like. It was like a women's Bible study in my church, and they really, really taught me how to read the Word of God.
Good. Yeah.
And we just like we would meet up like every week, and then we just like go through a book of the Bible. So we would like read Ephesians or you know whatever, and it was just like, and we also like live in their life. So I thought it was just
that's amazing,
man. I was like, I mean, I don't think I often see that anymore, but I would. But love they impacted to see that. You, we walked with her. Like one of my mentors, like when she had a miscarriage, like we walked with her through that. Like
that's real.
You know, when her baby was when she had like a rainbow baby and her baby was born, like we walked through like we walked through her with so many.
What's a rainbow baby?
A rainbow baby is like so essentially like after you have a miscarriage, the baby that comes like
the promise.
Yeah, it's like the promise, like a rainbow baby. Yeah. So you know, we walked with her through that. Like we just saw her and her husband's marriage. Like she would be very vulnerable with us about you know her own sinful nature and like how you know it affects her marriage. Like it was just very like transparent. And then the woman that was with her, like her best friend, me and her met all the time too. So I mean, I was a hot mess in college. Jesus Christ,
that's the time that you need those type of people in your life.
When I tell you these people sent me straight so many times, like they would literally come to my campus and like sit me down like 11 o'clock, like 10 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday and be like, okay, like what's going on here? And I literally like every moment that I had like a crucial like reckoning or whatever, they were there to like talk with me through it. Yeah. And it was so valuable. So I mean, shout out to them. It was just extremely helpful. Like, and that was like what discipleship looked like for me as a woman in my college years. So yeah. Yeah.
I can go. Yeah. So if I'm being real, when I was growing up, my mom, she set a great example when it came to determination and getting things done. She's also very type A. Like, she came here, she had 2 kids, and she had finished law school in Nigeria, but here that means nothing. She had
very disrespectful.
She literally studied. She didn't go to law school here. She studied for the bar with 2 kids in elementary school and passed. So it's like I definitely, now that I'm older, can recognize this woman was driving. She was not striving. Yeah. So it's like growing up, because she was so type A and like really focusing on her goals and providing for us, we didn't always connect on an emotional aspect. So it's like my sister and I kind of used each other for that support. So yes, my sister and I are very close. But it wasn't until I got older and kind of went to college and was on my own that I recognized like more of what my mom was doing, more of her sacrifice, and really was able to admire that without being under her thumb. Because I even remember one day in college, she called me. She's like, have you heard of a tiger mom? She's like, you know that's what I am, right? And I was like, what is it? So tiger moms are typically foreign moms who are very big on like academics with their kids and being excellent. Like they just
heard of that.
Yeah. So there's this woman, I think she's like a blogger, and she calls herself a tiger mom, and she kind of talked about it. Yeah. So my mom came across this, I don't know how, and explained how that's what she is. And I think that was her way of kind of explaining
like why
our connection. So during that time in college, like around that conversation, I kind of avoided women as mentors because I was like, girl, I finally have my freedom. I don't have a tiger mom over my head. Like, I'm in DC, she's in Tennessee. She can't do nothing. I don't want. Yeah, so it wasn't until late college where this woman at church approached me and was like, I really just see a light in you and I really want to mentor you. Like, are you open to that? And I was like so shocked by her like humility that I was like, absolutely. So she has done wonders for me. I love her to death. So yeah, I would say she's definitely someone who she's also excellent, and she's type A, but in a different way. So I think that also changed my idea of like, you can get things done and still be like a very warm person, a personable person. Like,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah, like you don't have a one-track mind. Like you can still be very like excellent and still love on people. So she definitely showed me that there's a different side to being a go-getter. It's not just about like running over whatever's in your way. It's about bringing them along with you.
I want to talk about this whole, I know Katrina didn't share, but that, I mean, we have to dispel, I mean, that's also like with the misconceptions like of a woman, but like, that, you know, that boss girl, I'm in charge, CEO, getting, and like just running over everybody. Like, I ain't taking no mess with no, like all that stuff.
I'm very soft. I'm very soft. Even how I was affirming Katrina, I'm always sentimental.
And when your voice, you be like, I just want to say, when she affirms, it's so funny. But anyway, we'll talk about that. But yeah, Katrina, where are you gonna go?
So, I'm thinking particularly, other than my mom has been as I said earlier, a source of inspiration just because of how she really... Did I hear something?
I don't know.
I'm so sorry. I meant to be focused.
Actually,
but...
Hope is my inspiration, actually.
Amen. Hope for president. Hope for president. Yeah, my mom has been, a very, like, a driving force in my excellence. I would say my mom is also a tiger mom. But I'm thinking more so about a friend of mine in college. She really showed me... actually, the thing that she showed me the most was how she saw people. Like, she really stopped. She paused. Very, very popular person in our circle.
Yeah.
Just because of how she loved people and how she was willing to pray for people and really encourage and walk with people through their, trials and through the things that they were going through during college. And she was going through some rough stuff, she had actually gotten married her sophomore year. Yeah. So she was married in college. Yeah. And her husband was like, I think like a senior.
Oh, wow.
So he like graduated and started working. So then she was like doing like long distance. Like she would move, like she would go to Florida on the weekends.
Hey.
Yeah. To like be with her husband and then come
college?
during college.
Oh
and then she still ended up going to grad school. So she
was getting it, honey.
Nothing can stop me, your mom.
Wait. I've heard that song in so long. Oh my God.
Wait, what?
Nothing can stop
me,
her.
your mom.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, nothing could stop her. But like, I don't even know. I don't know how she was able to, just see people where they were at and just have so much compassion. She was the first person to ever like sit me down. Like we went to Starbucks one day and we were talking and she was like, Katrina, do you know what your Myers-Briggs is? And I was like, no. And she was like, I think you're an introvert. And I did not know that.
Wow.
I really thought I was extroverted. And it's so crazy to me because like I would be extroverted just for the sake of, social, like I'm here, might as well. But I'm truly an introvert.
You are.
Yeah. And she was the first person to see that. And so like that's just her character. Like she can see you call things out and really
It's that intuition.
and see how you're really doing. And she's not afraid to ask. I'm sorry.
I don't know what Gabe was doing to that girl in the back.
Probably tickling her. Anyway, I'll take that as my cue. She really showed me the importance of just being with someone and seeing where they're at.
Yeah. I think it's really good when people speak life into you because, I mean, the world speaks so many things, other words that are negative, so it's very important. Yeah. But we talking about, the good things about being a woman. So can we get into the nitty-gritty about the struggles of being a woman?
Being a woman.
Anybody want to share, man?
Honestly, truly, where do we start?
I know.
I think... I'm stealing this. I think... Oh, Jesus.
I mean... Take your time.
Maybe I won't start.
No, you should start.
I honestly... I think I talked about, like, value and identity because I think those are constantly under attack from, for men as well. But for women, it's like, man, I feel like the devil really becoming like 10 times harder, bro. Like, I don't know. It's just like there's this... There's just that attack, and I think once again, what I said earlier about how we are often we're defined in our relationship to something. I think that's definitely a challenge that I have seen because it's like people don't know who I am for me. It's like, oh, and this is no shade to anybody at all. Like this is what you normally do, right? But it's like, oh, how's Gabe? I'm like, oh, hey Mary, hey wifey, and I'm like, oh my God, how's Hope? And I'm like, what about you? Did you want to ask how I was? Like, do you want to ask about my week? Like, and like once again, like it's not necessarily.
No, it's good.
It's not that. People don't do it on purpose, right? Like they just see that thing. But I think it's not often understood. It's like, once again, like I'm a person outside of all those things. Like I was a person before I married Gabe. Like I'm a woman before I had Hope or whatever. So like who I am is all like, is not, I don't know if it's like it parallels that, if that makes sense. So I think for me, the challenge is like and even actually after I had Hope, it was like a 3-month, what is this girl doing? There was like a 3-month period where I was like sad. I was like, who am I now? Like, I was like, and once again,
is real.
And it was like, because I had Hope, people just like, oh, mommy. And I'm just like, dang, like, who am I now? Like, as Deb, like, outside of having a baby, like, I love that girl to death. Like, y'all know that's my bestie, but I'm just like, it was just like, who am I? Yeah. And I think that like in the different seasons that I've gone in my life, like once again, like after like being with like getting married to Gabe and, you know, getting a job, all that kind of stuff, I feel like I always come back to that question of like, okay, who am I outside of all of those things? Because I think that like society often pushes those things onto people all the time. Yeah. And it's just like, that's all we know about you. Yeah. And you don't get to actually know the real me. So like there are things that people just don't know about me just because it's like anytime we do see each other, it's given like, oh, how's marriage? And once again, it's not shade at all.
No, but it's good to, but, you know, I don't even feel like you need to say that disclaimer because you're just, this is your truth. I mean, I wouldn't know that because I'm not in that season, but it's good to know.
But yeah, so just constantly like trying to define who I am, outside of the things outside the things that I do or the people that I like have a relationship with. I think that's something that I have been like I have struggled with, and I like what Katrina said, like I'm still processing that because I think in every season like something constantly is changing. And so, you know, I'm constantly like redefining like, okay, Deb, who are you now? Like what do you like now versus like what did you like in college and that type of stuff. So I think that's kind of like what the struggle of, you know, defining myself for me outside of the people that I'm in a relationship with.
No, shout out to the Emotionally Healthy Woman.
That book, come on, honey. That book is given.
Because it helps.
Like it's almost like a scary question. Yeah. Because me and my dad are like best friends. And over 2020, we were butting heads a lot when it came to me getting married. So I remember I was talking to one of my mentors, and she was like, you're trying so hard to be a good daughter, but like, what are you doing to be you? What are you doing to show your dad who you are as Ugo, not his daughter? She was like, when you strip away all of those titles, who are you? What do you stand for? Like, are you just always going to be obedient? She's like, you can't be defiant at 25. And I was like, oh my God. Jesus. Yeah. So, and God kind of had the same talk to me. Like, I created you and I created your father and I picked who your father is. So if you believe that getting married is my will, are you disobeying me to obey the man I put on earth? So I really feel like it's such a scary question when you're not ready to confront who you are, because it's like, dang, I may really ruffle some feathers of the relationships in my life once I start asserting who I am based off of what I believe and what God's told me, and not what my dad or my mom has raised me to believe, or what this group has told me I am, or et cetera, et cetera.
And that's the actual strength, right? Like to show up as who you are, knowing that it's like, it could possibly go against what people may like have thought of you. So shout out to that.
Yeah. Oh no.
I guess I feel.
Wait,
I don't know.
Do a sinister laugh.
I know. So the other day, I had made this TikTok, right? And I was like looking at my old pictures from high school. You know, I was obsessed with Kanye at the time. It's very cringy to see where I am right now as a 27-year-old. But I also saw my figure, my body, and looking back, I'm like, dang, I thought I was a little bit big around that time. But then I look at myself now, and I'm like, dang, you didn't appreciate what you had now. And I say that all to say, being a woman, like, woman is constantly like comparing your body to someone else, like not appreciating what you have. And I feel like where I am now, like I want to love myself at every state. I work out, but even during the process of working out, I want to love, if I have a little fupa, you know, if I have a little, you know, thigh, it's okay. So I think that can be a struggle at times, though, because I know there's a lot of women that like
body image is huge.
Man, it's so big, like that struggle loving themselves and thinking that, you know, their body should look like someone else's body. Sometimes, a lot of the times when we see images online, that's not a real body. So we're striving for something that doesn't even exist. So I feel like that is a major struggle, being women, that I have to constantly remind myself, no, like, Kim, love yourself at every single state. Like, imagine all we have to go through being a mom, like just the stress of life, just everything. Like your body, like our bodies go through a lot. Like we should love on it because it does so much. So I feel like that's a constant struggle in womanhood.
Yeah, that's good.
Like Kim said, body image, and it just reminds me of just like aesthetics, you know what I'm saying? Like how people perceive your reaction to things. And I think for me and maybe some other women out there, one of the biggest struggles I think is like people expect us to react the same to the same stimuli, and that's not realistic. So for example, like I remember when Sam first proposed and he was on I didn't even know it was going to happen at that moment. I knew he was going to do it. Yeah. I just didn't think it was going to be that particular moment. So when I turned around and I saw him on his knee, my stomach dropped. I was scared. I said, oh my God, I cannot go back. You can't go back now. Like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's like interesting because like people kind of have this expectation. They're like, oh, you should be excited. You should be happy. This time, celebrate. And it's just like, I am a person. Like, if I react the way that I react, it's because of, my prior experiences. It's, I'm just trying to like figure this out. Like I'm a new, in the same way that you were speaking about how being a mother, people are asking you, Deborah, asking you about, the baby and, motherhood. And you're just like, wait, what about me? Yeah. It's kind of like, man, people are so much more in tune with like the experiences that you're having or, let's celebrate this. But it's like, I'm actually going through a journey. Like I'm actually going through a metamorphosis in this moment. Yeah. Really and I don't even know how I'm supposed to be moving. I don't even know what I want really. Yeah. And it's really like us coming to terms with A, who we are, A, what we want, B, what we want. Ooh, too many A's. B, what we want. And then there's also this element of, this is new. Yeah. Like as women, we're constantly being introduced to new scenarios, new opportunities, and then there's always this like there's a certain level of expectation about how we should move in that thing. Yeah. And I personally would want to know like how you guys feel about these expectations that people put on women, whether it's the image, like the body image, the physical image, or like just how, for example, like you should wear makeup when you leave the house, or you should wear heels more often, or you should be the one that cooks. And it's like, well, what if he's better?
Let's talk about that.
I was gonna actually talk on like the marriage part because I never said this online. But only my life coach knows this. But there's a time, because this panty brought up a lot of engagements. My goodness, this is the most I've ever seen.
That is very true.
Yeah, and and of course I'm happy for people. But there was a time where I almost felt like I didn't have good news because my news wasn't an engagement. Wow. And I had to literally tell myself, like, Kim, like, you're still a great woman outside of you being engaged or having a guy. Or because I feel like there's a constant expectation. Someone will ask you, how's your dating life going? Yeah. It's like, as a girl, I mean, I don't know if men get asked that question a lot. I don't know. But as a woman, it's like, I literally
it starts sooner for us.
Yeah, I titled my connect group, "Yo, why are you single?" Because I would get that question all the time. So I just wanted to share that because it's on both ends. Like there's stuff that happens in your mind that you really have to put at the feet of God because it will drive you crazy. Like being engaged is like, oh my gosh, I can't go back. Versus like where I am thinking I don't have good news when I do have good news. I had to literally write down in my journal, no, these are all the things God, that's like the enemy really trying to downplay every good thing God has done in my life. And I rebuke that right now. And I acknowledge all the good things that God has done. So
Katrina, what you said really reminded me of something that I'm just now realizing is a part of like the expectations put on women that aren't fair. I think there's a lot of pressure, like you said, like someone was saying about responding to things the same. And I think we get judged for like our emotional, like where our emotional level is, our expression. So like when Moses proposed, the number one question I got was, did you cry?
Oh, really?
And I felt bad for saying no. And then someone was like, girl, just say yes. And I'm like, wait. But why do I have to
Is it by force?
No.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, why do I have to lie about my response to my experience? So I feel like this pressure for us to be,
I know, just
clap it up, sis. Clap it up.
This pressure for us to look good, respond especially like perfectly, be emotional, be girly, be like excitable, because I'm also introverted. Maybe I'm an ambivert, one of those. But it's like, I'm not about to be here like wailing in front of people.
Because
like,
you want to
get someone tell you to say yes. That just made me upset.
You want to share the picture on your face. Say, look at my girl.
Yeah. That just made me upset. But I had to like.
Right. Yeah. And it's just like when Katrina was saying that, I was like, that's actually like not okay. Because I know she was saying it in a funny way, but it's like, why do you feel the need to tell me, like, girl, just say you cried. Like, what? If you know me, you know I probably didn't cry when that happened. I was surprised for sure, but there wasn't this, like, there was an emotional reaction. And it's like, for you to assume that because I didn't cry, I didn't have an emotional reaction isn't fair, because you are not me and
or
I'm
it wasn't
not you.
enough.
Or it wasn't enough.
Why do women have to be enough according to your standard? Whether that's like a patriarchal standard or it's like another, like, you know, it's
Let's
just
go
like,
back to your question.
What's the question? What's the question?
When you said the cooking, makeup, like,
Oh, yeah.
Like meeting
Can you actually
other,
say it
meeting
again?
people's expectations.
Can you say it again?
You know, I don't remember.
She don't
Oh,
remember. I don't remember
dang.
either.
But
It was like,
Just go back.
Rewind it.
I think the question was, how do we feel about like the different standards that women constantly have to meet, like cooking, wearing makeup, being girly. I think that was the main gist.
And I think we definitely answered it, but I think it's once again like about defining defining what that looks like for me. So I am not in any way, and if you didn't know this, you do now, I am not living up to the expectations that you have put on me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't ask for it. You didn't communicate it. I didn't accept them. Like, it's just all the things. Like, I don't take all that back. So I think people like, it's just, and we kind of talked about a little bit about this, but also comparison is also a really big thing.
yeah.
As a woman, like comparing, like once again, like our responses are like, oh, if it was me, I'm like, but auntie, I think
It wasn't you.
and not in a shady way, but it's like, you and I are different. But I think once again, it's like the expectations that are put on us, and even like as Black women, as Christian women, whatever, it's just like, oh, you are submissive, or you are like this, like, you clean the house every 5 seconds because that's, and it's just like, but actually in reality, like that's not. That doesn't happen. Like for Gabe and I, we both cook. Well, Gabe and I, we have a cleaning chart. Like we both clean. Like we both take care of Hope. And I think it's
team.
like it really is a team effort, because I think the other thing is that people don't often talk about this side, but it's like when women are doing that, you see them doing all the things, being homemaker, whatever. And I think, if you are a homemaker, shout out to you, because it is not easy. That is a job, okay?
It's
like,
a full job.
It's a full-time job. Like you are getting it and you are killing it. But I think there's a sadness on the other side that people don't often see. There's like a loneliness that people don't see. There is a like isolation that people don't see. And when you're constantly trying to fit into the expectations of people, like I said earlier, like you're just constantly molding yourself. Like, okay, I have to be this person here, and I have to be this person here. It's like you're never figuring out who you are, because you're constantly trying to live up to other people's expectations. And it's just like a whirlwind.
What are you living for?
It's chaos.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, that's in my mind. Like now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that is so stressful, and it drains your energy. Like,
it does.
there are people who deal with like like in the book that we're reading in our small group right now, like she talked about how she like dealt with depression because she has so many repressed feelings of all the things that happened with her and her husband, because she just said yes to everything all the time. And she didn't have boundaries. She just like lived, she just met expectations, but she never said what hers were. And so I think, it's dangerous, because once again, like your identity is at stake. So yeah.
So good. Once again, shout out to emotionally healthy women. That book is getting me together. Like, and I think Deb touched on it a little bit, but her husband was a pastor, and she actually left the church because it was that bad.
With 4 kids, she said, "I'm going to another church. I'll see you later."
She left the
Hey!
church because it was that bad.
The first lady said, "I gotta go."
Yeah, catch me outside, literally outside the church. So okay. So do we want to get into some misconceptions of being a Christian woman?
Oh, dang. Well,
Or we can get into the other ones. Whatever y'all
I'm
want.
saying, like, friendship, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. I really wanted
that's
to
the
do
one
it,
that's-
but I wanted to give you opportunity to
The friendships one is really
Friendship
doing
is
me.
what-
Sisterhood.
Yeah.
It's really,
Buzzer.
yeah.
Let's fight, y'all.
Yeah. Okay. So
Let's talk.
friendship.
Oh, man.
I don't even know where to begin.
Where do we start?
What am I supposed to say? I'm just gonna run with it.
Yeah.
So
We can help you out too.
And I'll just, we take the baton.
Because I got
Tag
it.
team, honey.
I've
'Cause
learned a
friendships
lot.
are-
Yeah.
So we included this topic because most women understand that friendships amongst women are very, very delicate. And
That's a good word.
for
It
me,
is.
I feel like it's almost similar to a romantic relationship. And I think it's because women typically are intuitive and they're the sensitive ones. And we're very in touch with our emotions and we know how to communicate them for the most part. So I feel like because of that, sometimes we forget that because there's so much emotion in there, there's also a lot of expectations. But because it's
That's
not the
good.
person we're romantically involved with, we forget that we have to voice
Yes.
and talk about
Yeah,
those
yeah.
expectations. So I feel like that's why the fallout with women relationships can feel so emotional. And
breaking up with your
intense,
bestie is
it's a breakup.
joint.
Literally, there's so much you guys have to sever. There's so many, like, just a lot of hurt there. So with like female relationships, I just want to talk about like that dynamic and why is it that they seem to be so much more intense compared to men. Like,
it's just very intense and hard.
Guys will just come together, go apart, come together again. Like they're just very like they're just so much more mellow.
Like we love hard and we fight hard and we feel hard and we support hard and we do everything very intensely. Lots of passion. So it's like, why are we like this?
You're my friend. No one else is friend.
We're territorial. We're jealous. We compare.
We're all the things.
We do all kinds of all the things. Yeah.
I think I can.
Please go.
Wait.
Go. No.
Oh, everybody's triggered.
No. Go ahead.
Shoot, I said I'm gonna sit back and wait.
No, I'm not. Okay. I'm not gonna go too much in detail, but I think what's been really challenging for me is to let go of people that I like. They're ready to let go of me, and I'm not ready to let go of them. That has been so hard because I feel like have I done something like, dang, you don't want to talk to me anymore. Dang, I see you hanging out with other people, but you're not picking up my phone calls or answering my text messages, and it's just really it's so hard for me to get it. And I feel like that's something recently I had to like just accept that like your friendships go through different seasons.
Yeah.
But it's, man.
Thank you for
hard.
talking about that. Because I feel like that is a phase for a lot of people right now. I went through something very similar to that. And luckily I'm past it. And I kind of see it as like, I can't go backwards and chase somebody and try to pull them with me. So it's like, if their life is going in a direction that doesn't involve me, that's okay.
You gotta be okay with that.
And
hard.
mine is too. And it's like, if we cross paths later on the line, then great. And if we don't, that's also okay. This was a beautiful friendship while it lasted. And I just have to learn how to.
Take me forever. I'm just kidding.
There's gain in life and there's loss in life. So it's like, you have to learn how to respond to both in a way that doesn't stop or derail what you're doing.
That's good.
But I feel like for me, it's like, dang, I invested
It's an investment
into this.
Absolutely.
And you just want to like forget about me. Like that's how I literally been feeling. And I don't really have an ending to that. But
You ready to
tap
break
it.
the pants?
No, you got it.
She's on her lean back.
No, I
That's why I laughed.
man, I'm just laughing. I don't know what to say.
I just love you. Go ahead.
I think, friendships are, I love how Ugo introduced it because I think friendships are very nuanced, especially like sister friends, like friends, like besties, all that good stuff. Like I know for a very long time, like I feel like I was great at friendships. I'm like, ooh, look at me, I got friends. And then something happened in high school and it just like shook my world.
Oh, wow.
Like it was like me and her were like best friends and I didn't like meet your expectation, but I was like still like I was still present, but I wasn't meeting the expectation in the way that she wanted me to. So she like severed our relationship and it was just like it was how do I explain it? It just we were all cool in high school, so it created like a rift or whatever, a divide. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, dang, like it hurt me so bad that I was like, dang, even though I was showing up, because I wasn't showing up in the way that she had expected me to, she deemed that I was not a good friend.
Yeah, it wasn't good enough.
So I wasn't good enough.
Expectations. That's literally what Ugo said.
Right. And I think for me, like, it put a cloud over me of like, dang, I can never really meet people's expectations. Wow. Like, even if I do meet or show up in the way that like I can, it's not going to be enough for them. Wow. And so I think that really, really, really determined the way that a lot of my friendships have gone. And I think, I was seeing a life coach as well. And I had to really go through that. And I'm like, dang, like your girl's almost like, it's been maybe like 9-10 years. And I'm still like processing like, okay, Deb, like these are what does it look like to show up authentically in your relationships in the way that you operate and that be okay? And if someone doesn't like that, it's like, you know what, then we just aren't going to be friends and that's okay. Like I have to be okay with like letting that go. Exactly. And once again, I think it goes back to, for me, like the different seasons of my life. I'm like, there was a season of my life that I was like really, really busy. So you probably ain't getting a text back from me. And if I ain't text you back, I'm sorry. Like, it just, but I remember like always being mad. You didn't text back this, and I was like, oh my God. And it also just like, I just became that thing. I'm like, I'm the girl who doesn't text back.
Yep.
And even though people like say it as a joke and stuff like that, I'm like, no, that actually like feels like that's who I am as a friendship, as a friend. And so I just, once again, like that reiteration, like I can never meet people's expectations was always like over me. But I think now I've realized, girl, and I think now that I realize, I'm like, okay, this is who I am, right? Like I am a people person. Like I come alive in person. Like when I think people can test, like when I'm with you, I'm like here.
It's true.
I don't look at my phone because I'm like, that's who I am. But outside of that, you know, you might get text, you might not. But if you try me up to schedule a text, or schedule a meetup, I got you.
Yeah.
But I think I just had to realize, and the other thing I struggled was like comparing my friendships to how other people's friendships look.
Exactly.
I'm like, oh, I want to have a clique. Like, oh, I want to have this and I want to have that. And I'm just like, you know what? A lot of my friends actually don't live close. Like my close friends, like they all literally like have moved from like to Missouri to Texas to Atlanta. And I was like, you know what? I need to embrace the friendships that I have in the season that I have them in and be okay with that and not constantly have them compared to, you know, me constantly comparing them to other things. So it was really like shaking off shame and guilt and other people's expectations and just being clear about what I wanted, clear about how I moved, and just accepting the ones that like wanted to accept me back. And then for the ones that didn't, it's like, you know, it was great. We can be acquaintances. It's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, friendships are it's still a trial now. Like friendships are,
it's hard.
It's a lot. I can talk about it all day.
Yeah. You reminded me of like how when you said, oh, I want to be a part of a clique, I remember it's something about the DMV, y'all. Everybody knows everybody. So you feel like, oh, I need to be a part of a group. I want a core group where, you know, we do together. And so I started to kind of be pulled into that hype. And I've always known about myself, I'm a quality time person and I'm a one-on-one person. So I was striving for a friend group. I was striving for like not just friends that I'm with, that we all know each other, but like we're all intertwined, like super close. And it's like every time that happened, whether in college, after college, it fell apart. Yeah. In flames.
Flames. I feel you. Yes.
Not even me. It was just like some random argument would happen and then everything's just
break
messed
apart.
up. And I just had to remember, you keep trying to do something that isn't in line with how you relate to people. That's why it keeps getting messed up. So it's like, yes, you can admire that, but you don't need to strive for it because you know, like, you don't do well in those situations. Yeah. So it's like understanding that something can be good but still not for you in friendship is another thing. That's why it's like with friends that we lose, like, you're still a great person. I still love who you are, but you and I just aren't for each other right now.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That acceptance. Yeah.
There's this phrase that I think everyone has said, and it's been, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that there's, you know, for me personally, last year, 2020, I had to mourn friendships. I had to mourn certain
That's the
people.
word, mourn. Yeah.
Mourn the relationship because, you know, it's just not what I thought it would be at this time in my life.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you know, I've also had to learn that the expectations that I have of people, like, oh, please invite me out, or da-da-da-da, or whatever. It's just like, you know, you can't expect, not even you can't. I don't want to put that on everyone, but I'll talk about me. For me, I've learned that, you know, no one owes me anything. You know, no one, it's not their obligation to invite me to something if that's their thing. It's not their obligation to include me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they want to do something, or if they want to, you know, hang out with a certain person, then I need to be okay with that. I need to be secure in myself.
That's good.
To be fine not to be included. And 2020, I had to mourn those expectations of needing to be there, needing to be invited, wondering why I wasn't good enough to be invited. And it's just like, no, girl, you good enough. It's just not, that's not for you. And that's okay. And a book that helped me get there is Friendish. I'm not sponsored. Wait.
I didn't even know she had a book in her lap.
I'm gonna fight this girl.
I brought this book because
my
y'all
list.
need to read this book.
It's giving
This girl is breaking the fourth wall. You're looking at the
I'm breaking the fourth wall. This book gave me so much understanding about real friendship.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding with you right now.
good.
Like, the two things that I'm just going to leave y'all with as takeaways.
Drop the gems.
The first joint was, you know, nobody owes me the invitation. I don't need to feel like, you know, they have done an offense toward me, because they really haven't. At the end of the day, I'm secure in myself. I don't need to be invited. It's okay. I can do something else with someone else.
Right.
But then the second thing is that, lifelong friendships, the way that we see on TV shows and movies, is really rare. And so if we think to ourselves, oh my gosh, like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I have a lifelong friend, or why don't I have a lifelong clique like girlfriends? That's rare.
That. Yeah.
That's really rare. And the primary focus of our friendship as Christian women is to uplift and encourage one another toward Christ. Yeah. So if our friendship group is like, ooh, da 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 da, but there's no like, oh, but what about Christ though? Like, how are we being, molded toward Christ? How are we being molded toward our future? Yeah. What's our purpose? Like, oh, this is beneath you, honey. Like, you're my friend. Let me tell you the truth. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? If the friendship is not rooted in that, then it's probably not going to last. And if it does last, then did it lead you? Come on. Is it healthy? And did it lead you to a deeper understanding, a deeper fellowship? At the end of the day, I want my friendships to encourage me to Christ. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm looking for people who are willing to encourage me, to tell me when I'm wrong, if I'm not being humble. If you hear something I'm saying and you like, girl, that don't make no sense. Yeah. That's not biblical. Yeah. Tell me. That's what I want. Yeah. I don't need somebody to just hype me up when I'm acting a fool. Yeah. All right now?
Be ready to fight
Friendish. A word is enough for the wise, all right?
Get the book.
We've talked about so many good things, man. I don't even want to close out, but we got to.
It's giving part 2. Guys,
it's giving part 2. I don't know, the 3:30 guys.
Breakfast next
time. But just to close out, what's the one thing you would tell your younger self? Man, I didn't even think about my response to this, and I'm asking the question.
I can go first then, because, just to make it easier.
Yeah.
So I recently said this on another podcast, so I'll say it again. What I would tell my younger self is that, Katrina, you are not an imposter. You are yourself. You are you. What you want to do is legit. Yeah. What you want to do, you can do. Yeah. Do that thing. Yeah. And don't do it for anybody else's affirmation. Don't do it for anybody else's encouragement. Don't wait for anyone to jump on the bandwagon. You do it because you love it. Yeah. You're not an imposter. You know what you're talking about. Just continue to learn it.
Wow. Yeah. So good.
That's really good.
I think for me, I would just tell myself that I'm worthy, like that you're loved, that you don't have to, once again, like conform and mold to the expectations of people. And yeah, just really like affirming my identity. I think that's something I would definitely tell my younger self, and that you don't have to be who you're not. And you can pursue who you are relentlessly outside of, what people have to say.
Amen. So good.
Yeah.
Amen.
I think I would tell myself, fear is fake.
Ooh.
That's it. That's it.
Because I was definitely a worry wart as a kid.
Wow.
Even my mom would call me that. Like, girl, you just worry about everything. And I think while it definitely decreased while I grew up, it still hindered me from starting things the moment I thought of it, So it's like I was always worrying about, but this person said this, and I'm supposed to be the first pharmacist of my family, and I'm supposed to do this, and I'm supposed to do this. So it's like I was holding on to something deep down that I thought was significant in my life, but it's because everyone called it like a bad habit. Like, girl, you always shopping. What's wrong with you? Like, you always looking at shoes. So I felt bad about it. Like, I was like, oh, I can't pursue this seriously because it's a bad habit. And so I was scared to disappoint my parents and, other people who wanted me to be different things. And then I came to a church where people were like, giving me prophecies about fashion, and I was like, wait, God cares about clothes. I was like, I thought that was I thought that was shallow. So it's like I was so afraid for no reason. Like I was afraid of something that was actually a part of my passion and my destiny, and something God had said to me a long time ago, something I was unconsciously pursuing. I just didn't have anyone to help me refine it. So I would say, fear is fake. It's literally a barrier. It's just trying to keep you from, what you're meant to do. And the moment you realize that it's, a phantom, it's not real, and you tell it to go away, it's gone.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love that.
Whew, man, I don't want to cry. I would really cry, but because I was thinking about my response, I'm like, Okay.
I love this girl.
But,
It's so funny.
So one thing I would tell myself, my younger self, is that your story isn't over. I will never forget the day that I found out my dad passed. I was at Duval High School, and they called me down and said, you have someone to come pick you up. My mom never came to school. What is that? Like, I was like, what's going on? And then my sister-in-law at the time told me my dad passed. Literally, it felt like it was really weird. It felt like I was still, but the world was spinning around me, and I thought that I would turn into a nun. I thought I would never experience joy again. I thought my story was over. Yeah. And I literally wrote this in my journal a few days ago. You will live a full life. Amen. Like, I'm trying to affirm myself every day. And that's one thing I would tell myself. KP Sparks, what? I never thought I would create what I'm doing today. What? Even being on a podcast. When I got saved, I'm like, I don't know enough Bible, but look at where I am today.
Look where you at, honey.
I would tell my younger self, your story is not over, and you will live a full life.
Yeah. So beautiful.
This was so good.
You do want us to cry. You want us to cry.
I know. I was like, because I will cry. Like, it's not just a word. I will cry. This was so good, y'all.
Well, happy Women's Month, y'all.
Yes.
Happy Women's History Month.
International Women's Day was on the 8th, so I hope you have somebody cash app you some money or something. I don't know, celebrate yourself. But
if you haven't, it's not too late.
Yes.
Our cash apps are going to be in the
show notes. Yeah. But no, shout out to the guys for giving us the space. Love them. They are amazing men in our lives, and we really love them and appreciate them. But yeah, I'm happy we got to do this, y'all.
Yeah, I'm so glad I did my first podcast with you.
You did so good. Y'all, she's so well spoken. I knew she was going to kill it.
She killed that joint.
Yeah,
thank you. She was calm. Everything. So
that's how she. Come on now.
Yeah. We also didn't imitate the guys, but I didn't say short one time. It's okay, babe.
Anyways,
I know, right?
I know. Remi's just like boop boop boop. That's the only thing I can think of. What does Sam do?
She has to freestyle.
Okay, I know. Right? Come on, give me a beat, y'all.
Oh
no. Okay, never mind. It's okay.
Go.
So we here rapping, tapping, attacking, doing Project 330. You gonna feel me, dirty 30. We're worthy.
Good job, Katrina.
Very good job.
I'm about to call you Ugo. Do you have?
We just amen. No.
I think we already did it anyway.
Impersonation for Moses.
Anyway.
I mean, we really should have said, "A girl, say girl."
What's happening?
Because it's all about the ladies.
The ladies.
Today. But
does everybody want to plug themselves in again?
All right. No.
All right. Follow me, KB Sparks.
How are they gonna know when you do? Give it
KP Sparks _ actually, because the other KP Sparks is just, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's all, y'all.
Thanks for following and listening.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
I know you guys want to do the tag at the end.
We out.
And follow Project 330
on
all social platforms.
Yes. Follow on YouTube if you're listening to this.
Twitter. That's PROJ 330.
Yes, sir. It's time to cut it out. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.